This is the High School Football America podcast for April the 3rd, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability and customer service, and different plans priced right for every coach's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. And don't forget, on Wednesday, April the 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern on Zoom, GameStrat will be holding a live demo. If you attend, you will be eligible for up to $200 off on GameStrat. Go to GameStrat.com to learn more. All right, we're all cooped up. We're all tired of being in. I just washed all the pollen off of my car. And on today's podcast, I need a little home cooking. So I'm going to bring in my friend here who's never been on the podcast. So you're going to enjoy this guy. He's one of the best high school sports reporters, anchors in the country. And happy to say that I had a hand in some of his upbringing. His name is Dave Lesko. He works at WFMZ-TV in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's better known as Channel 69. And he was there when the Big Ticket began, which you've heard me talk about over the last decade here. I believe the best high school football highlight show in the country, and Dave has been carrying the mantle since I left some 20 years ago. We passed our 25th, I guess 2 years ago now. But Dave's on the line because I wanted to talk to some of these local guys out there who make a living out of doing really great coverage for high school sports. Not just football, but high school sports in general. And the Lehigh Valley has some of the best high school sports, not just football. I mean, I'll even go to field hockey and beyond. But anyway, Dave's on the line because he's got a little downtime right now, but I want to know how he's filling this time and what he's doing. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you, Jeff. And I owe my whole career basically to you, that we know each other now for 27 years, I believe.
Now,
so
people
I know you
start
longer.
Adding. Don't do that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I know you like more than half my life. So, yeah, you're like my big brother that I never had.
And you too.
It's been pretty interesting here for the last 3 weeks. I mean, we kind of knew that this was coming. It was around the corner. But it seems like it's been a lot longer than 3 weeks. And what we're doing is we're just trying to go out and get as many, stories as that we can. I mean, a lot of it's repetitive. A lot of it's, the coaches obviously knowing that, it's necessary for everybody to be safe and be careful and, to stay away from things and to try to flatten the curve and not be out and about. And they understand why, the schools are out and why, seasons have been either postponed or canceled. But they obviously, for the spring sports that really didn't start yet, they're obviously holding out hope that, maybe they'll be able to do something at the end of May. But, I don't know if that's wishful thinking or not, but they are, obviously upset for their kids that, put the hard work into it. And especially their seniors that, are some guys or girls are, going to be wrapping up their scholastic career. And a lot of them don't, end up playing, once they enter college.
Yeah. It's very, very sad. Talking to Dave Lesko, my good friend, longtime compatriot, and he's still at WFMZ, and I don't mean still in that way. But Dave, I was thinking about this, dude. It's got to be a record, right? Because I don't want to brag about where we're from, right? But let's think about the people that came before us. There's a Rich Lerner on the Golf Channel. There's Trey Wingo at ESPN. Tell the listeners around the nation a little bit about some of the history there. I think it's better coming out of your mouth than mine because you've got a better memory than I do.
Yeah, well, I know, I was back in, I guess, grade school yet, or at least junior high school when Rich Lerner was around. And then, I think Trey Wingo came here for a year. And then I believe it was, our good buddy Jim Brinson that was here for 2 years when I was an intern at Temple University. I was an intern here his last year, and Doug Wright was the weekend guy. And then Doug obviously, moved up, and you got the weekend job. And then that's kind of when you and my friendship kind of blossomed there and took me under your wing. And, then Doug ended up leaving a couple years later, and I ventured down to Philadelphia when Comcast Sportsnet started out, and I was there for a year. And then I came back, and you were the sports director, and I've been back ever since. So it's been, 1998. So we're going on 22 years here since I've been back, and started as an intern in 1993. So yeah, do the math. I've been there for, basically for 26 years, or 26 out of the last 27.
Dude, you're killing me. I try to hide my age on this thing. People are adding, now they're Googling.
Well, the good thing for me is people say I'm kind of like a reincarnation of Dick Clark. I mean, I got a little bit of salt and a little bit more salt coming in with the pepper in the hair, but I basically look the same that I did, in the past. But that's the weird thing. Like with everything that's not going on right now, we're starting to go back. And we're calling it, back in the vault, and we're bringing back old packages, from different feature stuff and different things. And most of the stuff that I did, because I've been there for 20 plus years. But I'm going back, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm going back like 5, 6, 10 years, 12 years, and I'm like, boy, I kind of look the same. I don't really look that different. Lost a few pounds in the process, but outside of that, I look pretty much the same.
Yeah, you do. But I got to ask you the biggest question, because we're all going to have to deal with this. Although Trish can cut my hair and has in the past. I know you like your haircuts. You got to be very well coiffed. What are you going to do?
I don't know. That is a good question, and it is one that has actually cropped up in my mind. I mean, the last haircut that I got was, I didn't want to go on Friday the 13th in March, so I ended up moving it to the 12th. So I went Thursday the 12th, and I'm due to go on next Thursday the 9th, and my good friend Melinda, who owns the barbershop or the salon that we use, WFMZ, they obviously are not open right now. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to call her up and see if she could come to my place, or if I could go to her place, or if I'm going to have to try to, use my razor and kind of, do something by myself. But I don't know. Maybe extra gel, for another month or something. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I want to see Shaggy Dave. That's what I want to see. Dave Lesko is on the line with me.
Yeah, that might be my 70s look. That, I didn't, when I was in 7th and 8th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 5th grade, maybe.
Talking to Dave Lesko from Channel 69 WFMZ, the Big Ticket in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a long, dear friend of mine, and just reached out this morning to see how things were going. I actually looked back at my last text to you back on March 9th, and I said something about basketball almost over. You can rest, because Dave works his butt off between August and sometime in April. And I was like, oh, you're finally going to get your break. And you said, oh yeah, 2 more weeks. Well, that's a long 2 weeks at this point. But you talked about going back to the 70s and all that. As you go back into the archives, and I'm not just talking football here, so I just want to know what are you finding as you go back? I mean, 25 years is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, we just kind of started, scratched the surface. I mean, the first thing Dan ran yesterday, was my package from the Alumni Classic for the 2012 Winter Classic, the Flyers and the Rangers. All the old-time Broad Street Bullies took on the old-time Rangers on New Year's Eve 2011. So I went down there for that, and I did that. Like I said, we just kind of started going back and looking to see, how many different feature packages we have or that I have. And I mean, over that amount of time, believe me, there's a lot of different things that are coming up, like, man, yeah, I totally forgot about that one. Yeah, I totally forgot about that one. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. I think the next one we're going to do is next week when Ryan Sandberg, my good buddy, was the manager of the Iron Fist, to ride up to Cooperstown for the Hall of Fame, and it was kind of a neat experience that his team got a chance to. A lot of the players have never been to Cooperstown before, and we ended up going up. I followed them up. I got there before them. They were going to Pawtucket, and they made a pit stop there, on a day off, and I followed them around, in the Hall of Fame, and that was back in 2012, I think. And it was a fun time, and I got back to watching it again. It was like, yeah, I kind of remember that. We're going to do another one on the day after Easter, April 13th. I did a story with Harry Kalas, the late great Harry Kalas, when he went into the Hall of Fame in 2002 at the 4th Frick Award. And I ended up watching that, and I got teary-eyed because, unfortunately, Harry's, no longer with us, and it's going to be 11 years. So I kind of talked to Dan today, actually, about it. And I thought it would be appropriate that, we run it on, the anniversary of his passing. So it's, fans of Harry Kalas they're not just in Philadelphia, they're in Lehigh Valley, they're all over the world. And it was a special package. It was a great time. He was a great guy. A little guy from Allentown here, and he said, yeah, we could do that. That's fine. No problem. And it was great. And, I was a big Larry Bowa fan growing up, and Larry was my idol, and, he was the manager at the time. And I ended up, going down on the field at the Vet, pregame. And I talked to Larry. He's like, hey, I'm doing something on Harry. Would you mind if I, talk to you a little bit? And he's like, yeah, sure. He sat down here I'm sitting down in the dugout with Larry Bowa. If I would have been 8 years old, I would have been crazed. But like, oh my God, I'm sitting here with Larry Bowa. But he was great. And he talked about, how he came up with actually Harry's signature call out of here. He was watching, batting practice the one day, and Greg Luzinski hit one of his mammoth shots, and Harry was there, and Larry says, man, that ball's out of here, and Harry was there. He picked it up, and that's what he ended up using the rest of his career.
He borrowed it just for a Hall of Fame career. Dave Lesko,
my number 10. Yeah.
Good friend on the line, Dave Lesko, and we're not sure where this is all going here tonight, folks, but I think we're going to have some fun as we get through this. We're about halfway through, Dave, in case you're having to do something special right now. He's doing this actually.
No, we're good.
I didn't even schedule this with him. I just called him up to talk, and I said, hey, we're going to do this. And I just plugged it into the old computer here, and away we go. So I'm not sure. We're going to bounce back and forth between kind of our life and working together, and we're going to do a little bit more high school sports, too, since we are High School Football America. But you made me think of a couple of things by announcing Harry there. Our good friend, who you mentioned was the sports director before me, Doug Wright. He, I believe, roomed with Harry's son, Todd, in college, right? And then
in Syracuse.
And then I'm gonna have you meld this all together, because I think you were there for this when Terry Francona was named as the new manager of the Phillies. Am I right or wrong about that? Again, you've got the memory, not me. I'm the old guy that had a stroke 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think I was. I think I was there with Terry. I know I was there opening day. I can't remember. I mean, that's going back to 1997, I guess.
Okay.
Or 97. It was after 96 when the Phils fired Jim Fregosi. But yeah, I might have been there.
Well, the reason I bring it up, because I was going to brag for a second, but I was going to let you brag for me, because I remember there we. So, folks, you got to picture this, right? We're in Allentown, 50 miles or so, give or take, north of Philadelphia, and we're not the hometown television station, if you will, but for some reason, somehow, after he was announced as the manager that day, he came into the locker room to do the one-on-ones, and I got him first. And to this day, I think everybody in Philadelphia, if they were to remember that moment, would be aggravated, because I think they were on a deadline for like noon shows or something. But I thought you were there for that. Anyway,
I don't remember if I was there for that one, and I think I was still working for Doug at that point. But I might have been there. I don't know. I can't honestly remember. There's been so many things that you and I have gone to and have covered in the past. They all kind of blend together after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here, you know what? This is my gift. This is my COVID-19 gift to you, Dave. So for years, folks, Dave and I have had an inside joke. It's not a joke I really appreciate, but I allow him to tell it. It happens more and more as we get older, I think, just because he remembers it and I'm trying to forget it. But I would love for you to explain that maybe I wasn't the greatest journalist each and every day I got out of bed. There was one moment, I believe, at an Eagles training camp at Lehigh University. You want to take it from there? You want to hit that softball and make fun of me?
Yeah. Well, it was back in 1994. I just had graduated from Temple University, and you decided to take me down. It was you, me, and I believe our friend Tom Artizone was our photographer, and we went down to Westchester where the Eagles were holding training camp, and practice ended, and we were getting interviews, and I was still trying to make a tape for myself and shoot a stand up and get the sound and get, put a package together. So hopefully maybe our news director would hire me, or at least let me do some stuff or do something for the big ticket. And we were getting players on the field, and we ended up getting this fellow, and you interviewed him, and he was cordial, and it was a bunch of guys around, and we got him, and he was great, and he was done, and you turned to me and you said, "Who's that?" And I says, "Well, Jeff, that's Eric Allen, all-pro cornerback. Maybe you heard of him." And since then, that's kind of been the running joke. I was down at, it was Alumni Day a few years back, and Eric Allen was roaming the sideline, so I took a shot of him. I took a picture on my camera phone, and I sent it to you, and I said, "Here's Eric Allen." He says hello, and then of course at the Super Bowl week, I'm out in Minneapolis. I'm at the Mall of America, and there's millions of people around walking around, and who do I see walking past me? The one and only Eric Allen. So he's there, and he's there with his wife or his girlfriend, and I couldn't help myself. I had to stop him. I said, "EA." He's, "Hey." I said, "Look," I said, "this is a big deal here." I said, "Big fan of yours, guy that I was, working with, back when I just got in this business, he said, we went down to Westchester and like, he didn't know who you were. And it's the big, I've been busting on him ever since. I said, can we take a picture? Absolutely. He was laughing, and we put our arms around each other. His wife and girlfriend took the picture, and I sent it to you. And I'm like, oh, that was going to be your new Christmas card.
And I do have the picture. I'll probably put it up on the story on highschoolfootballamerica.com.
And that's 1994. This is 2020, and it's still going strong. It still has legs, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And by the way, I got one little piece of defense. He did not have a jersey on. There was no number, and sometimes helmets get in the way of you knowing who they are. But Dave was right, and I've deserved to have my handed to me over the last quarter of a century, I guess. Maybe when I die. Maybe when I die. Maybe when I die, I'll live it down.
When that's the case is, wherever you're buried, I'll make sure to get a little Eric Allen football card, and I'll put it on your tombstone there for you.
Oh, I love you too, Dave. Dave Lesko, WFMZ-TV. I say this not because he's my friend and he's on the line here, but I have told him this, away from it when we're having a drink or a little beer here or there. One of the best. I mean, he is so well respected in my hometown. I mean, I keep in touch, as everyone knows, with the Lehigh Valley, but everybody loves Dave, and Dave does a great job. And what I wanted to kind of get off our little jokes here a little bit, I always, try to explain the Lehigh Valley and the sports scene, through my eyes, which, again, are 59 years old for people that are still trying to add up my age. But I wanted you to give a description of how you see it, because not only have you been there that long, you're there that long because you love it. You live it. You're part of it. I mean, you're part of the Lehigh Valley sports culture. But what does the Lehigh Valley have that maybe the rest of the country does not have?
Well, I mean, it's tough to say because I haven't really been out of it other than going to Philadelphia. I haven't really been out of the Lehigh Valley, so I just kind of know how it works here. But people around here love their high school sports, and the good thing about where we are, we're, only an hour away from Philadelphia. So I get kind of the best of both worlds. I get, I get an opportunity to go down and cover the Flyers and cover the Phillies and cover the Eagles and cover the Sixers a little bit, and get some pro stuff and get some of the Big Five colleges and big time college, football and basketball. But, it's nice to kind of come back and do stuff with, high school athletes and high school coaches that you've been able to, have a relationship with for so many years. And a lot of these coaches, Doug Snyder, the William Allen boys basketball coach, he retired, and he had it was a tough season for him at the end because his mother and his father unfortunately passed away within 3 days of each other. And he knew this was going to be his last year because he wants to retire and spend more time with his wife. And it's going to be a great loss for William Allen, not only the basketball team, but the school district, to have a guy of that stature around. And you realize, you cover these guys and you cover these athletes, and years later, they come back to you and you know how it is, Jeff. You talk to this kid, you talk to that kid, you talk to so many kids. Like sometimes they'll come up to you and they're like, "Do you remember me? You interviewed me." And it's like, sometimes you remember exactly who it is. Sometimes you're like, God, I sort of remember you, like you sort of look familiar. I can't remember your name, and you feel bad, but they're all excited that it's like, hey, you put me on TV, you made me feel good, you covered me, you shot my home run, you shot my touchdown, you did this, you did that. And a lot of people really tune in, especially for the big ticket, obviously, is a big deal. But people tune in, and I have people coming up to me all the time, might be in the Walmart, and I don't wear the logo to the stuff. I kind of try to go under the radar, and people either come up to me a lot of times, or they'll be with their spouse, and they'll be like, "Hey, that's Dave Lesko." I get that all the time, but they kind of know who I am because I'm out and about all the time. Since this coronavirus thing broke, people, anytime I see somebody in the store, which I try not to go to too often, I just try to shop for my mother, but they're like, God, what are you doing now? It's like, there's no sports and no nothing. I'm like, I know, it's tough. It's difficult. Everybody's in the same boat. Obviously, everybody wants to be safe, but it's like, oh my God, we don't have a spring season. We don't have Major League Baseball. We don't have minor league baseball. We don't have high school baseball. We don't have high school, softball. Lacrosse is is big now. We don't have that. So it's, it's trying times, but people love their high school sports around here. And especially where we're at, we have, Emmaus field hockey. It's not just football. We have team like that has constant state championships. If they don't win it, they're right there towards the end. We have high school wrestling is a big hotbed for that. People are crazy about the wrestling. So it's not just one sport. It's not just football. Football is probably the best and probably the biggest, I should say. But, anything with a ball up here, it's pretty, people love to watch it.
It is the best place. Dave Lesko on the line. And you get to go do some New York stuff, too. We're not that far out of New York. Let's play a couple of games here. And this doesn't have to be what you're finding as you go back through the tapes for your throwback type pieces and all that. But favorite, we're just going to stay high school now, football. Favorite high school football game ever that you have been there, whether you're reporting on it or you just happen to be there on the sidelines enjoying it? Well, you have one of those in the Lehigh Valley?
Man, that's tough because there's been so many. And like you said, 20, 25, 26 years now. And, hopefully there's a 27th we don't know yet. I mean, I know one that stands out. Yeah, and I believe you were with me. It was the Eastern, I think it was the Eastern semifinal back in might have been 98 or 99, and CB West came up to play Bethlehem Catholic, and they played over at
I think Lehigh.
Over at Lehigh, over at Goodman Stadium, and obviously they don't have any lights there. But I mean, for the way those teams brought people, it was they actually probably had a better crowd than they did, for the Lehigh game the next week. I know that one stands out. The other ones, I mean, there's always games at Cottingham that anytime you go to an Easton game, it's always an adventure. You have Rover Nation, you have the band playing. I mean, even if the team's subpar, it's an event.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna interrupt you on that because they're redoing Cottingham, right? That great old concrete from 23 or 24. It's going to be redone. Well, we hope there's a season, as you said. What do you think about that? I mean, that's an institution there.
That's what they say. Yeah. So there's been talk about that going on for the last, couple of years now, 2 or 3 years. So, I mean, I don't have any news to break for you. I know that they were going to, try to redo the stadium. There was talk too. I don't know how real this is that they were going to put turf in.
Yeah, no, I can give you some. I'm going to break some news for you. It's going to be ready for this year. They're going to leave the concrete structure outside, aluminum inside, and no turf. Everybody complained that they didn't. It was kind of like a chant of no turf, no turf. So there's that. Okay, all right. So there, I broke some.
Who is getting turf though, Jeff? I can maybe break this for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Alumni Catasauqua will be getting turf.
Wow.
For the 2021 season.
You know what? That cow pasture is going to be nice.
Yes, Whitehall, and I found this out yesterday too. Whitehall, in addition, will be getting a turf field on their football stadium.
That's nice. And for those of you that don't know, that is the home of Matt Millen and Dan Coppin. Actually, I talked to Matt, and that's the other thing that we should just kind of stress. I think there's that connectivity too, because I know when I was writing, or as I started to write my second book on Pennsylvania, Matt Millen has to be in it, right? And that's when Matt actually had gone into the hospital to await the heart transplant, and Jim Tech, our good friend from Northern Lehigh, kind of put it together. And Matt, even in his hospital room, gave an interview to talk about Lehigh Valley football. And it wasn't, if I really honestly believe, and I'm not bragging, if it was someone other than someone from the Lehigh Valley, I don't think he would have done that. Because it was
probably not.
It's that connectivity that we have. Okay, the best player you've ever seen in the Lehigh Valley in person, or anybody in the state of Pennsylvania, you can have that be two people.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, obviously Saquon Barkley's got to be up there.
Who went to Whitehall? Forgot about him.
Yeah, you don't want to forget about him. The only problem with him is I didn't see him very often because a lot of times they were running away, and I usually didn't get his games too much. So I saw Saquon more at practice than I ended up seeing him, during games. Austin Scott at Parkland.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately his career didn't take off the way everybody kind of thought it would, and things got a little messed up at Penn State, but I mean, he was an athlete. And I remember, and before him, James Mungro.
Oh, I was just going to remind you. I thought you were going to forget about him. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. James Mungro, East Stroudsburg, South Cavaliers, Purple Pit. Went to Syracuse, played with the Colts. And I remember James Mungro because you and I went up there for his signing day.
Yep.
When it was between Syracuse and I think it was USC and I think it was somebody else. And he went to Syracuse, and then on the way back, I got a speeding ticket. Remember that? So,
no, I don't, but I believe you.
yeah. And I remember, obviously, too, he got a start. Edgerrin James was hurt, and he got a start against the Eagles at the Vet. And he was a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, it was the best game that he had in the NFL. And it was crazy after the game. And the Blue Ridge Cable was down there. We were down there. The Morning Call was down there at the old Vet. And he was there. His parents were there. And it was a good time. It was like, wow, maybe this kid's then going to do something with his career. And then, unfortunately, he got hurt and got kind of shortened career. But, there was a flash there that James Mungo could have been something.
Yeah, and I remember I think they made it again. There's this weird. I think we still have it, right? You can play if you have a Thanksgiving Day game. You can play 3 times in 8 days, right? I know Easton's done it a couple of times with Phillipsburg, and I remember at the end of Mungro's high school career, East Stroudsburg got deep into the playoffs, and they played 3 games because they used to play, Stroudsburg on Thanksgiving Day, and he rushed in 3 games for somewhere around 900 yards, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have to look that up. But it was like the single most incredible performance literally 8 days, 3 games, and he carried a lot, so that's one. So
absolutely.
I got
and
one.
I remember, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it was it was one of those, oh yeah type of games that, he had against Deeruff in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And Tosh Riddick, I don't remember how many touchdowns each one of them got, but it was crazy.
Yeah, no, he
I remember it was up there.
Legit, playing at one of my favorite places, and this rhymes with legit, the Purple Pit. I love that place up there. Just one of my favorites. So, okay, I'm going to go with my best ever in the Valley, and boy, I can't say across the country. I'm going to go with Dan Kendra. What do you think of that?
Well, I actually have no comment on Dan Kendra because you were in charge of the big ticket back then, and I did not attend one Dan Kendra game.
Oh, here we go.
I never interviewed Dan Kendra. I never saw him play. I know Al Ganoza used to get Bethlehem Catholic every week. That was the year, I think, 95, 96. I might as well just pitch the cotton in Bangor because I know I was up in Bangor all the time, or I was going down to CB West looking for the lights. So I never saw Dan Kendra play one snap of football.
Okay, I'm going to start nicknaming you the Grudge because you seem to hold them. Dave Lesko on the line. Couple more before we wrap up here. Let's see. I know where I want to go. I just want to know how I stack this. You mentioned CB West twice. CB West led by the all-time great Mike Pettin Sr. You may know that name from the guy named Mike Pettin Jr., former Browns head coach, Packers DC. Dave does a lot of really good impressions. So here's my problem. If I let him tell the first impression, which would be Mike Pettin Sr., who used to scare the bejesus out of me whenever I had to go to interview him. And by the way, Mike Pettin, Dave, what are we talking here? 5'8", $155, maybe?
He was not a big man. Okay. But he had a voice. I mean, it was the voice of God.
Okay, so now,
he intimidated me when we would go down. When we would go down to see him, I'd be like, nah, and then he kind of warmed up a little bit to me, I think, before he retired. And I think I went down there a couple of times and ended up getting them by myself. But I was scared going down to talk to Mike Pettin because there was just an aura about the guy too. It was his voice and how he carried himself, and the wins that the program had, and it was crazy. I remember just going down there and talking to him with you, and I was like, man, this he was Vince Lombardi of high school football.
Yeah, and 2 long streaks. One I think was 58 straight. I think he had a 44 in there, state championships. And when his son got the Browns job, I called him in Florida, and we talked for an hour on the podcast here. And he probably would have gone for 4 hours. And it was kind of funny because I told him that George Curry was the late George Curry was on, and once filled up the entire hour with about 57 minutes and 55 seconds of himself. So I think Mike was trying to beat that. But anyway, back to the point. So Dave tells great impressions, but if I let him do that impression right now, No one will know it. And no one will know it even when he does it, but I still like to hear it because it makes me laugh. And, during COVID-19, I need some laughs. He does an awesome Larry Holmes, which may or may not resonate with some people, but he does do a great Mike Tyson. So I think that's where I'm going to start with you. I know you're not prepared for this. Generally speaking, Dave is able to do these impressions with news of the day. When we're having a conversation amongst the two of us, or if Trish is on there and listening, I always try to humor myself by having him do this. So he may have to clean it up just a bit because we're obviously putting this out across America to about 100,000 people. So what's going on with this COVID-19, Mike?
Jeff, it's ludicrous, man. I mean, I don't understand, how everybody can be going outside and just trying to keep people safe, man, and just keep them off the streets and keep them out of stores. Doing what you can do, keeping your distance. Do the 6 feet thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand how people can just go about their lives like nothing's happening, and there's people that are really getting overcome with this disease, and it's a bad thing. So just try to take care of everybody, and can we all just try to get along here. And hopefully sooner than later this will be out of here and we'll be able to get back to our regular lives.
Well, thank you, Mike Tyson. Dave Lesko, I do have one other follow-up for that, if you don't mind. And, we're trying to bring some levity here. As I said, every day when we do the podcast, it's to take our minds off the news of the day. So, Mike, I've got to ask you, what would happen? Has anybody gotten within 6 feet of you? I mean, what would happen to that person?
Well, no, see, I haven't been boxing for a long time, but people know me that, I bit off of Van der Veer, and I apologize for that, but that's never going to go away. And, they see me coming down the street, and now I have the tattoo of everything on my face and stuff, so I scare people away. So people, they kind of know when Mike Tyson, when I am Mike walking down the street, that, keep your distance.
well, thank you, Mike.
I ended up meeting my Iron Mike at Larry Holmes' restaurant maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
I've never even heard this story.
I told you I was going to do it, and I was going to go meet him because Larry called me up and said Mike's coming up here. He's going to, the Sands Casino at the time. He's going to be promoting fights, like one a fight card a month. And I said he invited me up, so I was like, Jeff, I'm going to see Mike Tyson tomorrow. And you're like, are you going to do your impression? I'm like, are you
I do
crazy?
Remember. Oh, that's right. I do remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, remember, there's a few blanks there with the stroke. Dave Lesko, WFMZ. We're wrapping up with a little bit of fun here. One of the great things that I always brag about when it comes to the Lehigh Valley, and I think I got the count right at 3, which would be home of world champions. And back, before it kind of exploded as far as the population, the Lehigh Valley maybe was, 600,000-700,000. And in that little 3-city area with a lot of surrounding communities, you had Larry Holmes, world champion boxer, Mario Andretti, world champion auto racer, maybe the best there ever was, and then my good friend, your good friend too, Marty. You went to school with him, Marty Nothstein, who was a world champion cyclist, a gold medalist. So I always thought that was, very, very cool. But as Dave's career has gone on, and as much as he didn't get to see Dan Kendra, he always got the Larry Holmes interviews, and you and Larry are pretty tight, and Larry's still in Easton, the Easton assassin. So you do a pretty good Larry Holmes impression too. So I guess I'm going to ask the same question you know what? Here's the question, Larry. What did you think when Dave Lesko would not do his Mike Tyson impression in front of Mike Tyson?
Oh, Jeff. Well, let me tell you something. I did not mind that Dave didn't do that impression because let me tell you something. I'm too old for me to have his back. Okay? And Mike Tyson, he whooped me. He whooped me in the ring back in 1988. Out down there in Atlantic City, down in Donald Trump, the president guy. They had him down. I was down there at the Trump at the plaza. I was there. Where was that guy in? Yeah, I was at the plaza, and Mike whipped me in 4 rounds. Now this is a long time later after that, and I'm glad that Dave was smart enough to know that you don't mess with old Mike Tyson.
because Mike Tyson, he's crazy.
That is Larry Holmes / Dave Lesko. And for those of you who have not recalled hearing Larry talk, that's spot on. All you got to do is go back to a 30-30 there on ESPN, and you'll know that Dave does it pretty well. So I guess we'll say.
And you kind of washed over the Mario, though. You gotta ride that. You get the cars on the track there. You gotta make sure that the rubber. You got the marbles. The marbles in the on the track there. You got to be careful there. I was test driving the one car one time. And I hit the marble. The track was slick. And I did a 180. I came back down on the wheel. I saw my life pass before my eyes. You can't. You got to be careful with these cars, the aerodynamics and everything else. I'm glad Michael. He got out. He's not as great a racer as I am. Marco, he come through. He kind of. He got the will, he got the heart. His grandfather, he just, he don't have the tools, unfortunately, that he doesn't have as many victories and, rising to, check a flag. But, I know, he tries his best. And, hopefully at some point when we get back to racing, that Marco, he can find his own and he can start winning some races.
Well, I didn't expect. I've never heard your Mario, so that's very good, folks. Dave Lesko on the line doing his best. Frank Gorshin. I'm old school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. Where'd you think I was going
Joker,
with that?
Right?
Yeah. Very good. No. I'm sorry. I answered too quickly. The Riddler. The Riddler.
Or the Riddler. That's
the Riddler from Batman. So we're gonna
the green guy with the question mark, right?
Exactly. Well,
yeah, there you go. I knew he was green.
Yeah, it's called a riddle for a reason. It makes you think.
There you go.
It's a
That's
question.
Right.
So the last one that no one will know except for me is the big guy with the little guy with the big voice, Mike Pettin Sr. And I guess the question I want to ask you, Mike, is we know you're up above. You're looking down on all of us, and Mike Jr. had a tough time there with the Browns. What kind of advice are you giving Mike to see if he can find himself a new NFL head coaching job?
Well, Jeff, I talk to my son whenever I can, and it was a tough time in Cleveland, but I tell him, nobody wins in Cleveland. They have nothing to worry about. You don't have to hang your head. You did the best you can. They didn't give you enough time, and you've moved on. That's in the past. You've had other jobs. You've had other opportunities. And now here you are sitting pretty in Green Bay, and hopefully that'll take off somewhere. I know in my heart, somewhere down the line, he's going to find himself with another team and be a head coach. And I'll be proud of him.
Mike Pettin Sr., a.k.a. Or Dave Lesko, a.k.a. Mike Pettin Sr. One follow-up question, Mike. I know you've been listening in on the podcast here, and you heard Jeff and Dave both mention that you scared the bejesus out of them. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, I'm just being me, Jeff. If he can't handle it, well, then, these young guys, they got to start somewhere. And I know he's improved and gotten better, and he's an older man now, and I'm sure if the time came, and as I got older, I mellowed a little bit too, so it was probably equal. He got himself, a little chutzpah there and kind of got, some... I don't know what he's looking for, but he got something, and I kind of mellowed there. I had all my wins. I had my great career. I had coached great players. I had my son on my staff, and it was a great time, and that's all I have to say.
Well, congratulations, Dave.
You put me on the spot.
I am. Well, none of this was rehearsed. What did I tell you when I started rolling? And I'm like, I don't know where this is going.
You got to give me a little with the coronavirus and everything else. I'm a little more shallow here. I'm kind of not ready for all of this stuff. I didn't have time to prep or anything, so.
So you're just
somewhere down the road. We'll do it a little better, maybe.
Nah, you did a great job. So I guess the last question, this is a little bit of downtime for everybody. Like you said, you're kind of scrubbing through all the back tapes. But what are you going to be looking forward to when all this ends? When you get to go back and cover what we all love, which is sports, no matter what level, whether it's high school football, field hockey, wrestling, the Iron Pigs there in the Lehigh Valley. What are you looking forward to?
Well, obviously, first thing I want, I hope everybody, can get through this as quick as possible and as healthy as possible. And unfortunately, I know we're going to lose people, but I hope it's to a minimum, and I hope that everybody that has it, they can get through this with flying colors, because it's more important than sports. But it's just going to be whatever's out there. I mean, it's really tough. When you've been doing this for 20, 25 years, and nobody's gone through this, and you just don't know. There's no finish line here, Jeff. There's no, hey, it's going to be May 1st, everything's going to get back to normal, or it's June 1st, or July 1st. Nobody knows. There's talk that, maybe they won't have a football season this year, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's only April 3rd, and you're already talking that, come August, September, they might not be playing football yet. It's really kind of tough, and everybody's at the point where they just want some levity in their lives. And, you can watch old, replays and stuff. I know ESPN is doing a lot of old games, and, we're trying to do stuff, going back and showing some old packages, but it's not the same as having athletes out there and competing and trying their hardest and trying to, win games and win championships. And everybody's, trying to do the same thing. And, you really get an opportunity to see, kids work hard. And a lot of times, their hard work, you see it paying off. And you really feel for these kids. And when you cover them on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a yearly basis, then you get to kind of know some kids, over the course of their scholastic careers. You get close to them, and you follow them into college, and you see how they're doing there. And maybe you see them when they come home from college. And I've had softball girls or boys, baseball boys or football boys, come up to me at games and say, "Oh yeah, hey Jess, how you doing? How's things going in Scranton? Or how are things going wherever you're going to college?" And it's kind of nice that they come back and they remember what you did for them, and it's kind of nice to see them, extend their careers into the collegiate level. And even when they're out of college, you might run into their kids playing because they've been around for so long. And it's like, that guy used to cover me in high school. Now he's covering you in high school. And it's, it's pretty unique experience, and it's pretty cool. And it's a good thing. It's one good thing about, not being in a major market, that you have this, because they don't do this in, Philadelphia, New York. Maybe they do something on a really big story, or some kid that's going to get drafted, by the pros. But for the most part, I mean, we're kind of, we're close enough to the city that we can cover professional sports, which I'm glad. But we're also, in our own little territory here where we carved out a niche, and we're the only TV station here. I mean, we have a couple cable stations that do stuff, but as far as broadcast is concerned, we're the only station, in the Lehigh Valley that does what we do, and that's picked up with, in the radius that we're picked up. I was down in Wells Fargo Center in South Philadelphia, maybe 5-6 years ago. I'm walking around before a Flyers game, and they have a bar inside, and I'm walking through, and our anchor Rob Vaughn was on. I'm like, holy crow! Like, we're in Philadelphia here, and they have Channel 69 News on here at 6:00. So I mean, we're picked up in South Jersey. I know we have a little following. I think maybe in like northern Delaware. I think too. I mean, it's a big area, and people talk. People, we just got an email today that the woman is from Wilmington. She's from New York, I think, and she's from Wilmington. She's going from New York to Wilmington because her mother lives in Wilmington, and she's older, and they moved down there. And she sent this really glowing, email about our station and what we do, not just for sports, but for news and for sports, and how much she, enjoys it. And Wilmington's not anywhere close to here. So it's,
yeah, well,
people just enjoy what we do.
Yeah. No matter how far, and as the saying I always have is, you can always take the boy out of Pennsylvania, but not Pennsylvania out of the boy. I'm that way wherever I go. And I'm just lucky to have you as a friend, and the Lehigh Valley is lucky to have you as its numero uno sports guy. And that's no disrespect to anybody else on your staff there. They know how I feel. I've told them that you are the best. By the way, what I'm looking forward to, because I'm sure you're not going to interview me here at the end, but if you were going to ask me, what I was looking forward to, I'm really looking forward to when we finally do get back to football and interviewing Eric Allen, because I think from what I'm reading, he's going to have a pretty darn good year this year, and I think it'll be pretty special.
Okay, go with that.
If you can't poke fun at yourself, folks, if you're just tuning in, listen in the archives. You'll understand what that's all about. Well, Dave, I wish you nothing but go ahead. You got something to say there? I've got time here.
No, I'm just saying. Hey, just look at it this way. At least you didn't fall, for some scrub. You know what I mean? At least you didn't know who an All-Pro was. You got to look at it that way. You got to find a silver lining, Jeff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I hear all of that.
And on the flip side of that, it could have been worse on that team. I mean, maybe you didn't know who Randall Cunningham was. That would have really went over bad. Or Reggie White. So you never know.
Well, like I said, folks, just look at the story on highschoolfootballamerica.com. You'll see Dave and his pictures and his love affair with Eric Allen, all as a result of my stupidity. Anyway, Dave, I wish you to stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you get a haircut. I'm going to also wish you that, because that may be the toughest thing for you there, because I know you're sheltering in place except for helping Mom out. So we're wishing you a good haircut.
Well, we appreciate it, and that would be my Easter wish, I guess. So we'll see. I mean, I can usually, I can stretch it out to 5 weeks, but like after that, then it's, I start getting a little Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, So I don't know. I'm gonna have to go to Walmart and get some extra hair gel or whatever, slick it back maybe, and I don't know what we're gonna do. But we'll see. Everybody says I got great hair, so no bald spots yet. So I don't take after my dad.
Well, that's all I talk about. As long as I have a full head of hair, everything else can go to hell in a handbasket. Dave, thank you. Appreciate it. Stay safe, buddy.
You got it, brother. Yep. Thanks, man.
The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability and customer service, and different plans priced right for every coach's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of highschoolfootballamerica.com. And don't forget, on Wednesday, April the 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern, GameStrat will be holding a live demo on Zoom, and you can get up to $200 off if you attend. You've been listening to the High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher.